Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Diary of a Professional. This is Ashley,
Lou here.
and we have the lovely Curline Campbell with us today. Before we get into all about her, let's go and talk about what we're grateful for this week.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to start?
Sure, why not? Listen, I don't know, if I've been saying my prayers a little different
Mm.
or if I've been somehow getting them to the main line. You know, I feel like I've been on like vacation, even though I'm not on vacation. You know what I mean? I might work 2 days and I'm free, or I'm off for a week and my schedule's just been hitting. And even when I've been at work, I'm not really having to work.
Okay.
And now I'm on another stretch for another like 6 days. I don't even remember putting it in like that. Like, I feel like every time I have a stretch like that, like, why am I not on a plane? But I'm gonna just keep it cute and be grateful. you know,
Well, I'm happy for you. I'm happy you're getting
Thank
that
you. And it
time
feels like
off.
vacation. I'm on regular schedule, get regular sleep. My skin feeling like she's, you know? Yeah.
I love that for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I guess what I'm grateful for this week in particular is just support when I need it.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm going through
Mm.
another transition in life, and transitions
Mm-hmm.
are never easy. Um, it can be quite bumpy, but I know I have great support that I know through this transition it will be done smoothly, so I'm happy
Amen.
to have that support by my side and you know move on to the next chapter of my life. We'll
Yeah.
see where it may bring. Yeah. So yes. And then tell us, Curleen, tell us what you're grateful for this week.
This week, I'm grateful for there's a lot of new opportunities that are coming, especially this opportunity, Ashley. Thank you. I appreciate it, when Kirk reached
Oh,
out. I mean, this is an opportunity for me too. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for reaching out.
of
And
course.
a lot of like little things that I wasn't paying attention to. I'm getting invited to a lot of other things, doors opening up, and I'm like, really? Yeah. Like, so I'm getting really excited and looking forward for a lot of new things coming. So I'm really grateful, and like you said, through transition, new things happen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they said the caterpillar always turns into a butterfly. So that's what's happening.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I
like
love the
that. I like
yes.
that. So, Carlene is a early childhood educator. But what is amazing is that she is now a published author.
Look
so
at
we're
that.
so we're definitely gonna talk about this and this transition she did as well. So before we get into all of that, we just want to ask you who or what inspired you to write your first children's book.
Um, well, growing up, I used to always like journal. Like at one point, I was like the only girl with like four brothers.
Oh.
So, I have moments where, like I would have to just go, like play with my dolls and just pretend play by myself. And then, so I just always built this habit of like started to write, about my emotions, writing things. And um, that was I journaled a lot. So as I got older, I started to write like poems and poetry. And
Mm-hmm.
I started to work with students moving forward. Um, and the children's book, even though, you read throughout your life going to college and all those things, it's just something like I think in most children's book, it just brings me into like a happy space. Like I think with the colors, the pictures, and even the children's book that doesn't have words, it's like the stories
Mm.
still being told, just like bright colors. it just takes you into like a happy space, I feel.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to write children's books, but I just never like did anything about it. While I started teaching, like, I enjoyed reading the books with my students and reading it and just turning the page. I'm like, get excited over it. And at times I'm like, I will critique it myself. I'm like, oh, why didn't
Mm.
why didn't add that? Now that I'm like with the students, I'm like, they're missing this. Why didn't put this? Oh, they could have done that. They should have. And then I'm like, hmm, yeah. Like, why don't you show up and do something about it? And then I started like again, writing manuscripts and having it, but I did nothing with it for like so many
So,
books and journals.
mm,
Yeah, that I just had, and I just had them sitting and never took the step to follow through. It was just,
sometimes that's what it takes, that push. But like, obviously you've been working towards getting to that place and, kind of whether you realize it or not, preparing yourself for it. As an early, uh, education educator, teacher, was it an easy transition from being an educator to a writer?
um, not really.
Mm-hmm.
In your mind, even I remember, I forgot, I read it someplace that like even like if you're thinking like you got writing never ends. It's this process that is never like the perfect piece. It's always ongoing. Because
Mm-hmm.
even once you start and you're like, okay, you could start with an idea and you're like, this is what it's gonna look like, this is what I want it to look like. And by the time you're finished, it's completely opposite of
Mm.
what you started with or what you thought.
Yeah.
Because the book that Ashley's holding, that was not the idea that I had for the book when I started.
Oh.
It
Oh.
was no, it wasn't. It was supposed to be the character Curline, and she was just gonna talk about her day and events that was happening. And through that process, again, like for me, interacting with my students, interacting with because I'm also like an early intervention provider,
Mm-hmm.
it changed every day. Like every time I went back to write something or add something, it kept changing. I said,
Mm.
no, wait. I was like, okay. I was like, if I change this, I might know this, and I was like, then started focusing on objects that children like to play with,
Mm-hmm.
like toys. I'm like, okay, what is Curly going to do? I have the character in mind. I'm like, what is she doing? Okay, what is she doing throughout her day? She's playing, and then again, tying into what do children like to do. But even though they're playing, a lot of people just, oh, they're playing and playing, but they're actually learning. A learning
Right.
process is taking place with play, and toys are not just toys. It's like the way they're experiencing the world, and it's their first step of exploring and learning.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of like how you kind of like expressed your writing process in a way because sometimes I feel like when I'm nowhere a writer, but to me it's like, okay, this is my plan. I have to stick with it. But I like how you just explained, like, no, it kind of evolved over time. It kind of transformed into this over time. Like you don't have to be stuck in that bubble of what you originally thought of or created in your mind. So I do like that you mentioned like, no, this transformed into a whole nother piece and here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So were there any challenges or obstacles you encountered while creating your first book?
Yes. The
Yeah.
thing that I'm not like good at drawing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
to find someone to like capture the images that you have in your mind is challenging because I mean, there's a lot of great artists out there, people that are so creative. And to get someone to capture your ideas, what you're thinking, without okay, like this, to tweet it's challenging because most children like authors that write children, but most of them actually are able to draw their own illustrations.
Mm.
Like Eric Carl, like he usually Yeah. So for me, like I'm not really that great with my artwork. So I had to find someone to do the illustrations for me. So that was pretty challenging with the back and forth, like going back and forth initially when I first started, finding that person. So eventually when I did go to the publishing company, they provided someone for me, and it was like the closest um to my satisfaction that I did get the person to capture the character, the closest to the character that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had that image of the character and I didn't want to deviate from her.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I want to build on, I didn't want her to change. So that's something I wasn't willing to compromise. Like, I'm like, I had the idea of her, the character from day one. So everything else changed around, but her, that character of Curling, like, I didn't want her to change, like the image of, I wanted her to stay.
I can feel that because it's like how it's come across in your mind.
Mhm.
That's how I want the people to see it and receive it. Um, I mean, can you tell us about your book, Playtime?
Was. Okay, so in the book Playtime, the character, she's playing with different toys. So most of the toys that are in the book, it's based on I've chose those objects, those toys, based on working with my early learners, and those are most of the objects that they usually gravitate towards. Like you'll see like the blocks, the Play-Doh, and most of those toys are usually like sensory toys.
Yeah.
That some kids that are it soothes them in different, and they learn differently, like with the, for example, the ball, like you could ask them various questions about the ball, like what does it do? It bounces, it rolls, and they could feel it, the texture. It's like so many different questions that you could dig into about the ball. Like they're not just playing, like what are they learning while they're playing with the ball? Like they could give you so many responses that you're not even thinking while they're just playing.
Right.
um the blocks, like the blocks is something that you wouldn't even notice, like how many things a child, and how the thought process when they're stacking blocks. um it's not just, oh, they're putting it up and knocking it down. It's like, how many different ways are they stacking the blocks, and what's going to happen if I stack it too high? What's going to happen if I stack it across? If
Mm-hmm.
I stack it uneven, if the blocks are not the same shapes, like so many cognitive processes is going on, like by using blocks. Um, also like the teddy bear, like the texture, what do they use that for? Like, how does it feel? Like, what comes to mind when you're thinking of a teddy bear? How the comfort, like so many different things, when you're looking at these objects that I chose to focus on in the book, in the text. Also, the way I highlighted the words, so for the non-readers, and the kids, every child, like even if they're not reading, they like to feel like they're reading. So
Mm-hmm.
some of the words are bold on purpose. It's intentional for them to, like, even the pictures are next to the words, so that when they see even if they see the picture, they're gonna, oh boy,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're
That
reading.
association, yeah.
And then they alone, that builds their confidence. They go, look, then they'll just go on to the next page, and make them think, that builds their confidence and makes, they get excited over stuff like that. Um,
Lovely. It's
mhm.
lovely.
And
Mm-hmm.
also, being in the classroom and the standards, it's like rhyming. Like also it has like a rhyming concept, a theme, if you read the book.
Yeah.
That's also a part of our national standards, like kids like focusing on rhyming words. So if you read through the book, you'll see some of them, the words will rhyme. So you could even ask questions with them regarding that, like what words rhyme with that word? What did you notice? And stuff like that. So I put a few things in there that, and I didn't make it too long for them to get, lost or bored.
Yeah.
And so it's just long enough. Is make sure that the colors was really bright,
Yeah.
and the pictures are big, so that they like to turn the pages and
Mm-hmm.
keep going and keep them engaged.
Yeah. I personally loved your book because it was just bright colors, big, it rhymes, but it also really describes the texture of each item to as well, that they can think like, oh, this is, yes, a teddy bear is soft, So I did like that it really helps their learning process. So yeah. Um, so what ages do you recommend this book for usually?
I would say up to age 5, but I've had kids older than that. Like even though they can read, they they read it to like their younger siblings, and they just like to read it. So from even non-readers, like kids like babies, like toddlers, they're turning the books, they're turning the page, they're pointing to the ball and stuff like that. So from birth
Mhm.
to, I would say, age 5, and even my English language learners, my students that are not like speaking English, that this book is for them as well, you know.
I love that. I don't think people realize, like, if you have a novel or whatever, you can put as much as you want into it, and it could be so many pages. But when it is, like a children's book, and you want them, like you said, not to be bored, it has to be concise. It has to have certain elements to grab them and capture them. So I think you did a wonderful job with that. Um, Speaking of wonderful job, can you tell us what kind of services you provide?
Okay, so I'm a special instructor.
Right.
Yes, so I work with well, actually toddler from age birth to 3, with disabilities. So I go in the home, and if the family approves for these services through an agency, then I go in and I provide services. It's called special instruction or even ABA services. Um, it depends on what the family is approved for. It's anywhere from like 30 minutes up to even like 20 hours per week, depending on the severity of services that the child might need. Again, and most of the services are like provided through play, or depending on the age, like it's educational like resources. Like, sometimes we'll do puzzles, we'll play games, but it's all with the intent of it's intentional like learning activities, to help with the cognitive abilities and learning skills.
Yeah, that's super important and crucial, that early intervention,
Ooh,
what you do pretty much, like going into the homes and really being able to help children with their delays, going in maybe twice a week or how many hours that they're approved for. It's amazing the work that you do, to help the children.
right. We know it's an understatement. My son personally had an ABA therapist. I think he was approved for 10 hours a week at the time. And at the time, he wasn't talking. And now, that boy, no one believes he qualified for those kind of services. So I personally want to thank you for the work that you guys do and applaud you, because it's not easy.
And it makes a big difference,
Yeah.
and working with the families, and it makes a difference, and it really helps them. And you'll see, like you said, like from not speaking to when now, oh, they're speaking, they're using words, and hard to believe that at one point, they weren't saying any words. And it's exciting, like when you're with the family and they're not
Yeah.
saying a word to go into saying one word, you feel like you're the mom. You're like, ah, did you hear him? They're like, okay,
Yes.
now,
Yes.
like, did you
It
hear
feels like a
that?
breakup when you no
Like, did
longer qualify
you
for that age.
hear? Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, I agree. I still remember her Noelle. Miss her. Miss her.
I feel like
Amazing.
I knew her at one point because
Mm-hmm.
he was ditching me for her at one point.
Yes, yes.
Oh yeah, you become a part of the
It
family.
was like,
A
Ashley.
1000%.
Who cares about an Ashley?
Oh, that's funny. That's a big thing. I love it. I love it. It's like it's like they're like, okay, it's something I've never gotten. I've had other jobs like but when I found my thing, like ever since I started teaching, I've never gotten like tired of, some people are like, oh, I'm tired of my job. Like, and I used to work at the hospital. I used to work in billing and financing. And
Mm-hmm.
ever since I've been teaching now for like as an educator for over 16 years, and I could still tell you I look forward. I'm like, okay, let me see when I go to work. Let me see what this one's gonna say today. I'm like, you know, like I'm still not tired of. I love it. I look forward to it, and I don't know, like if I ever will. I enjoy every moment of it.
That's a blessing.
Yeah,
They
they're
need
like,
to clone
you're so
you.
patient. They're like, you're so patient. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and it shows. It shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have any advice to anyone who's a woman of color, who is an early childhood educator? Do you have any advice for them?
The advice I would give to anyone is like, you know, just go ahead and do like whatever is in your heart. Don't waste time. Don't take long. I mean, there's never going to be a moment like, okay, I'm going to wait till this for that to happen. I'm going to wait and then go and do this. I'm going to wait and do that because life is short and you just that opportunity might not come, but you're just gonna have to take it. Like just step out and do what you have to do. Because you never know if it's you're just gonna keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Like look how long I've waited, and why. I could have been done it. But you just take the step. If it's something that you want to do, go ahead and do it. Be brave, be bold, once you pray about it. There's nothing to be afraid of because you're not going to lose.
Nope.
Ooh. Ooh.
You're not going to lose.
Bar.
For real.
Where can the people find you?
Okay, so you can find me on. Okay, I have a few. I have my Instagram, but
Your website and yeah.
yes. So I have a website. It's called For Child's Sake .care. So you can
Mm.
go there, and also I'm on Instagram at Curline for real, and I have the Playtime my book. It has its Instagram page as well.
We
Yeah.
will tag them all so the people can reach out so that the children can read it and get expand their mind and all the beautiful things that we know your book will give them. So we are thankful for having you. Everyone, please support, go her page, get the book, share it
Yes.
as a friend, give it as gifts. I love giving books as gifts. All that good stuff. Yes, it's just like hello,
Yes.
build your library.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yes, Curleen, we want to thank you for coming. Guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And we will see you next time.
It's also they can
Oh,
also it's on
yes.
Amazon. On Amazon, Barnes,
Easy.
Barnes
Easy.
and
We
Noble,
gonna link that too, baby.
yes, and Walmart.
Ah,
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's
Walmart.
also on
oh,
authorhouse.com as well. So it's in various places that they can get the book.
Listen, and if we didn't list it, I'm sure we can find it on her page and
Yes,
we
yeah.
can link it there. So, oh, I love that. Options, people. There's no excuse at this
okay.
point. There is no excuse.
Go
Everybody
get that
got
book now.
Prime. There's a Walmart everywhere.
Go get that book, y'all.
Go get that.
All right. Till next time, everyone.
Yes, take care, guys.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Hmm.